Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The Talking Points memo on why President Obama is sympathetic to Islam will be in our third segment tonight. First, the lead story. How badly has Hillary Clinton been damaged by the FBI's investigation? The Factor staff put together a series of statements made by Secretary Clinton and then refuted yesterday by FBI Director James Comey.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material.
From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
I responded right away and provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
The FBI also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton to State in 2014.
I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two.
Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department. And she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain.
So it is clear beyond any doubt from the FBI's investigation that Secretary Clinton attempted to mislead the public. Now, intent comes into play here as well. Is Mrs. Clinton's memory faulty, or did she intentionally want to deceive us? If the latter question proves to be true, her presidential chances may vanish. Talking Points believes there is more to come on this story, as FBI Director James Comey will testify in front of the House committee tomorrow morning. And Mrs. Clinton's misleading public statement should be among the lead questions. With us now here in New York City, Brett Stevens, columnist for the Wall Street Journal. So what I'm trying to get at here is that if that you would admit that montage you put together is embarrassing, right?
It's devastating.
Okay, nobody can defend it, right?
Least of all Mrs. Clinton.
Okay, nobody can spin it. Nobody can say it didn't happen. I mean, a congressman lied, and we'll show you the congressman who lied in a minute. But it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Any fair-minded person would say, this woman's a deceiver, and now she wants to be president. So I'm saying, does it matter?
I think in any normal political season, this would destroy her candidacy. I mean, back in the 1990s, Bill Safire, the late New York Times columnist, called Mrs. Clinton a congenital liar. And what you just showed on your montage demonstrates that was true 2 decades ago remains true today. Even the fact that FBI Director Comey decided not to indict the evidence that he laid out shows that she has been telling untruths consistently for at least 15 months, since March of...
Yeah, in the biggest case of the presidential campaign so far. Now,
but it's not a normal political season. That's
okay, and it isn't, because you have Donald Trump, who's a very polarizing man. But I'm saying to myself, it's going to be harder for people who weren't that enthusiastic about Mrs. Clinton but didn't like Trump. It's going to be harder for them now to still pull that lever for her.
This ought to play into Trump's sweet spot, the belief, the view, his view that the system is rigged. There's a system for everyone, and then there is a Clinton exception when it comes to this kind of behavior. You know, what did they call it? Extreme carelessness as opposed to gross negligence. So that should play into his wheelhouse, except that in a week when he should be gaining strength from this report, what's he doing? He's talking about Saddam Hussein as being terrific when it came to the war on terror.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more focused. He was last night but then in last night in his North Carolina speech, he accused Comey of, you know, he's got to stay, as you just put it out, he's got to stay in the factual zone and not, you know, blow it out so that he can be an object of derision. Now, Comey himself, the Wall Street Journal today has a good editorial about his decision, but people still aren't, establishment people still aren't saying he's corrupt. Trump says he's corrupt, but you don't think he's corrupt, do you?
Look, in 2013, when he was made FBI director, we ran an editorial called The Political Mr. Comey. Jim Comey is terrific when it comes to prosecuting Martha Stewart, when it comes to prosecuting bankers like Frank Quattrone. prosecuting unpopular people, doing what the Washington Beltway thinks is the right thing to do. Very different story when going against not only the presumptive Democratic nominee, but the presumptive Democratic nominee who's going to save the world from Donald Trump. So this decision was totally predictable for anyone. So
you believe that Comey set aside, this is what you're saying, Mr. Stevens, I want to be very clear, set aside his sworn duty to uphold the law because he felt that politics, if he brought charges, would influence him.
The evidence that he produced is directly contradictory. It directly contradicts the conclusion that he reached.
Okay,
it was a purely political
why did
decision.
he do it? Are you saying that he puts politics over honesty?
I'm saying he puts politics first.
You are.
Yes.
You're saying that James Comey, the director of the FBI, puts politics over what is honest in the criminal justice system.
This was a purely political decision by an FBI director who should not have been recommending in any way what prosecutors should do in terms of Mrs. Clinton's case.
Okay. Now, if that's true, and I don't know that it is, that's your opinion, right?
What was my opinion?
Okay. But you look a little, and forgive me, smug on the opinion. You look like you are 100% convinced that what you just said, that Comey puts politics over what's best for the country and what's right in criminal justice arena. You look like you're 100% convinced of that.
I'm only 95% convinced of anything I say, but this is my best judgment. But knowing it, if you follow Jim Comey's career over many years, especially when he was going after people like John Ashcroft in the first Bush administration, his record as a prosecutor, the witch hunt against Scooter Libby, Jim Comey is very good at going after targets who are already objects of hatred and derision among the liberal establishment in Washington. So when we wrote that editorial 3 years ago, just listing his record, we were relative loners. People were applauding Jim Comey as a straight shooter. This decision comes as absolutely no surprise that he would not take on a target as politically significant and as favored by so much of Washington as Mrs. Clinton. And I say that as someone who's no fan of the other guy.
Yeah, you're no fan of Donald Trump. But if what you're saying is true, then this country is in serious trouble because we don't have equal justice for all, do we?
No. Look, we've become a country where politics is the first refuge of scoundrels.
All right. Brett Stevens, everyone, thank you very much for your candor. And one footnote, Mr. Stevens will be on the Contributing Factor podcast. Now, you got to watch that tonight, which you can access on BillO'Reilly.com or iTunes. No relation to Looney Tunes. Next on the rundown, media reaction to the Hillary Clinton email fiasco. Bernie Goldberg has some thoughts. And later, Factor exclusive, we have photos of Barack Obama allegedly attending a Muslim wedding. Up ahead. In back segment tonight, obviously the media running wild with the Hillary Clinton FBI story.
I hope none of you are depressed. I'm sure a lot of you are. I told you that we were being played throughout this whole thing.
You have to decide whether you're going to question the integrity of James Comey, who until now has had an unimpeachable reputation for integrity on many fronts,
I don't question
and where he said very definitively that there was no basis to prosecute her.
She should at least resign as a candidate on the grounds that if she can't pass the top security clearance, she can't be president of the United States.
Did she try to lie about it? No. No. The FBI has told us that. Did she make some mistakes? Absolutely.
But as we just demonstrated in the first segment, Congressman Becerra is misleading us. The FBI clearly stated that some of Hillary Clinton's statements were not true. So, Congressman, this is from me to you. You need to be a bit more careful in your statements as a representative of your district, okay? Joining us now from North Carolina, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. I almost garbled Goldberg. Say that 5 times.
That's okay.
Garbled
That's
Goldberg.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate that.
General question. Has the media reaction to this story been fair?
You know, there's a lot in the mainstream media that has been fair. I'll give you 3 examples from the broadcast networks. On ABC, Brian Ross, he said the FBI statement is an indictment without a criminal charge. That's pretty tough. On CBS, John Dickerson said, Comey undermined a lot of what Hillary Clinton has said about her private server. That's a nice way of saying she lied. And on NBC, Chuck Todd said, Hillary has a credibility problem, but then he says, but she can recover because her opponent is Donald Trump. That may sound biased, but it isn't, because Donald Trump has a credibility problem himself, and if it weren't for Donald Trump, she would be in far more trouble today than she is.
But I don't like that statement from Todd for this reason. It shouldn't be a comparative situation when analyzing Hillary Clinton and her email. I mean, what she did and what we demonstrated and what Comey said was dishonest. Right? She's dishonest. And then the history behind Secretary Clinton, all right, is one of a pattern of behavior, as Mr. Stevens just pointed out. So Trump really doesn't have anything to do with this right now.
Well, no, I disagree with you in this respect. It's a fair analysis to say this woman would be in real trouble, maybe the kind of trouble you can't extricate yourself from, except you have to consider who her opponent is. Now, where it gets partisan, Bill, is when the partisans get involved in the debate. Now, you played a sound cut. I don't have return video. That was Congressman Becerra?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there are some Hillary supporters who you could have a videotape of Hillary Clinton personally shredding documents, shredding emails.
They wouldn't matter. Right?
It wouldn't matter to them, you know?
It's like Carville. Remember James Carville? When the president's lie was finally exposed, and Carville had been telling everybody that, oh, no, he's telling the truth. And then for the next day, well, it's only about sex. You can lie about sex. It's only about sex. Right. You're not going to lie about that. So go ahead.
Let me make one other point. And I wrote about this today on my website. On the other side, conservatives, a lot of them, say the fix is in. That's the other side of the coin. And it's understandable that they would say that because Jim Comey laid out a case against Hillary Clinton that would inevitably, you'd have to conclude that she's guilty of something or other, and then he comes to the conclusion that she shouldn't be charged with a crime. I think, and this is what I wrote about on my website today, I think it's more complicated than that. I think Jim Comey doesn't want to be the guy who throws the 2016 presidential race into
it's not his job,
chaotic turmoil.
Not his job.
Exactly. That's my next point. Just as John Roberts did that, Chief Justice John Roberts did that in the Obamacare case, it wasn't his job, and it's not Jim Comey's job. Right. I totally agree with you.
That's right. So, I mean, Stevens pretty emphatic about Comey's background, and he has a pattern of behavior. Again, the word's pattern of behavior, that when in a tight political spot where it might come back to bite James Comey, he's going to go for the easy way out. And then he cited Martha Stewart. You prosecute her. Who cares? Nobody's denying power. But Hillary Clinton could be president. So he's not going to recommend. I'm not sure that's accurate because it's based on speculation. Certainly, you could put together a good circumstantial case for your opinion and Mr. Comey's opinion. But I'm worried about the folks. This FBI pronouncement yesterday has shattered the justice system's image for most of the country.
Yes, and here's why. You can't help but concluding from Jim Comey's statements. By the way, I'm a big fan of Bret Stephens. I don't know if he's right, but I'm a big fan of his, and he's a very thoughtful guy. So he may be right, you know. But the inevitable conclusion, based on what Jim Comey said and how he ended his statement with no recommendation, is that there are two systems of justice in the United States of America. One for Hillary Clinton and one for mere mortals, the rest of us, the people who aren't nearly as important as Hillary or Bill Clinton. And that is not good for the country.
No, it's bad for the country, but it's good for Donald Trump because now Trump University, doesn't matter what he did. It doesn't matter what he did.
Donald Trump, exactly. But Donald Trump, and this was the headline of my column today. The headline was, will Donald Trump graciously accept the FBI's gift? Jim Comey gave him a gift.
It is.
And he needs to take advantage of it.
Okay, Bernie. Directly ahead, Factor exclusive, President Obama's ties to the Muslim world. Wait till you hear this. And later, Miller will weigh in on the FBI Hillary deal, and we are coming right back. Personal story segment tonight, President Obama and Islam. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Many Americans, including this one, believe Barack Obama's emotional attachment to the Muslim world has hurt the USA. There's no question the Obama administration's greatest failure is allowing the Islamic terror group ISIS to run wild, murdering thousands of innocent people all over the world, including many Muslims. Mr. Obama has never acknowledged that mistake, nor does he define the ISIS threat accurately. That group is killing innocent people in order to impose a radical version of Islam on the world. The jihad is solely based on theology, perverted as it may be. President Obama, as we all know, will not even use the words Islamic terrorism. Again today, when telling the nation that America will maintain 8,000 troops in Afghanistan, the president did not accurately describe the situation there, putting forth that it was more about politics than Islamic terror.
That is why the United States will continue to strongly support an Afghan-led reconciliation process, and why we call on all countries in the region to end safe havens for militants and terrorists.
But they are not just militants and terrorists. They are Islamic-driven killers who protected al-Qaeda before the 9/11 attack. Yet the President of the United States does not define the terror issue clearly. Here's why. Barack Obama's father, who abandoned his family, was a Muslim who eventually turned atheist. Then his mother married another Muslim, moving young Barry to Indonesia, where he was exposed to the Islamic world, even though he did attend a Catholic school in first grade. According to his half-sister, Barack Obama attended his half-brother's wedding in the early 1990s. Malik Obama was a Muslim. The Factor has obtained pictures, allegedly from that wedding, which we believe was held in Maryland. Details on the ceremony, the exact location, whether the reports that Barack Obama was the best man, are very difficult to verify at this point. What we can tell you with certainty is that Barack Obama has deep emotional ties to Islam.
As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn and at the fall of dusk. As a young man, I worked in Chicago communities where many found dignity and peace in their Muslim faith.
Now, to some extent, I can identify with President Obama on the religion issue. As a Roman Catholic, I was appalled when the priest pedophilia scandal broke. There's absolutely no excuse for the Catholic Church covering up many horrendous crimes. However, like Barack Obama, I do make the distinction between the faith and the people who abuse it. The church is not the men who run it. The church is the abiding theology behind the doctrine of Jesus. And the country is the abiding philosophy behind the Constitution. And I think if everybody understood that, you could put it in perspective. But here's where I depart from the president. I went after the American leaders of the Catholic Church with a vengeance. As we now know, the leaders of the Catholic Church in America covered up the sexual abuse. At least some of them did. It's my opinion that Cardinal Law in Boston could be arrested and charged with criminal negligence in the matter. Remember, Law admits transferring pedophile priests to places where they had continuing contact with children. Americans have a right to demand, and I mean demand, that their authorities take care of Cardinal Law, not the Pope. That American authorities take care of a man who aided and abetted the molestation of American children. We have the right, every American citizen, to demand that this Cardinal Law is removed. It's way beyond just Catholics. Law was eventually booted out of Boston, but then given a cushy job in Rome, another embarrassment for the Catholic Church. Barack Obama should do what I did. Aggressively call out those who abuse the Muslim faith, who commit atrocities under a religious banner. He should make defeating the jihad a central issue and stop trying to diminish Islamic terrorism by avoiding the simple truth. Radical Islam is a direct threat to the entire world. Whether they live in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, or Africa, it is Islamic killers who are the central problem on the planet. President Obama should acknowledge that today and begin to correct his mistakes. And that's the memo. When we come right back, reaction. Dan Miller on the FBI Hillary Clinton deal. Moments away. Continuing now with the personal story segment, President Obama and his relationship with Islam. Joining us from Chicago, David Mendel, author of the book, Obama, From Promise to Power. So where am I going wrong here, Mr. Mendel?
Well, Bill, it's hard to say. I don't necessarily disagree with everything that you had to say, but one thing I will say, that just because President Obama attended the wedding of a relative who was a Muslim doesn't necessarily mean he has deep ties to Islam.
You wouldn't say
President
that
Obama,
your father and your stepfather, both Islamists, and then your half-brother and half-sister, both Muslims, you wouldn't call those deep ties?
Well, there are ties. President Obama is a very unique cultural figure. He has ties to various worlds. He has ties to the African-American world. He has ties to Kansas, where his mother was born. He himself is a devout Christian. I would follow him around on the campaign trail back here in Illinois.
Devout Christian? He doesn't go to church on a regular basis. How did you arrive at that assessment? Why would he be? Well, he's a Christian. I believe he's a Christian. I'm not one of these guys that says he's Muslim, but I don't think he's a devout Christian.
Well, he would go along the campaign trail here in Illinois. He had the Holy Bible sitting in the door compartment of his vehicle, and he would refer to it consistently. He and Michelle would attend services of, you can go back to Jeremiah Wright if you want, but
yeah, I don't know if that's devout in Jeremiah Wright's church is a little political.
But he's a Christian. He's given extensive interviews about his
but what you say and what you do are not necessarily the same thing. I base my analysis on the fact that, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I'm not, President Obama's sympathetic treatment of Muslims has put the country in danger because he has not elevated the risk that we have to the level it should be. And he allowed ISIS to be created because of his foolish decision to withdraw troops in Iraq and to pretty much run wild for 5 years. So another president, angry about the jihad, would not have done that. Am I wrong?
Well, I think President Obama is very sympathetic to all cultures, all religions. He grew up in a multiplicity.
Is that good for a commander-in-chief to be very sympathetic to all cultures and all religions when thousands of people are being murdered? Come on.
Obviously, you think it's a bad quality.
You don't?
Well, I think he is a unique figure in that he can see various viewpoints. I'm not here.
He's a commander-in-chief of the country.
To argue his foreign policy.
Mr. Mendel, he's the commander-in-chief of the United States, and his main charge is to protect us. His main charge is to be touchy-feely to all different cultures.
And he's being criticized. He's being criticized by the left, by human rights groups, for his drone policy, by killing what I assume are mostly Muslims through drones. In the Middle East. So I think his language is very cautious. Yes, he's a cautious man. He's the President of the United States. He's always been a cautious politician with the language he uses. But I think it's a little unfair to say that because he grew up in his younger years, he had some ties to the Muslim world, that he is sympathetic to.
I just want to be clear before we let you go.
Radical Islamists who are terrorists.
All right,
there's no connection between him and terrorists.
No, and I'm not making that connection. My connection is, my thesis is that he has an emotional tie to Islam, and that has clouded his judgment in attacking the jihadists. Last word.
Well, that's your opinion. I think that he's a devout Christian. I've seen no evidence that he has fomented terrorism in any way. He was the man who gave the call to kill Osama bin Laden.
But I don't know if that was a difficult call.
Try to take the.
Again. All right, Mr. Mendel, we appreciate your point of view. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Miller Time segment tonight. Let's get right to the sage of Southern California. He joins us from Santa Barbara. So, Miller, when you heard yesterday the FBI director say no charges against Secretary Clinton, what went through your mind?
Well, I was surprised because he was dropping breadcrumbs, and then he whipped out a vegan scone at the end. I thought he was describing Marilyn Monroe. All of a sudden, he waltzes out Marilyn Manson. That's like putting in Happily Ever After at the end of The Exorcist, for God's sake. I thought he was going to lay into her, and then he backed off it. And you know something? It looks like Hillary, the only way we're going to get her eventually, Bill, is if she kicks a hotel door in Vegas to take back some bobbleheads that she claims were hers. That's the only way we're going to get Hillary Clinton. I guarantee you today she's on a better private server talking to Blumenthal about flipping the free college card because she's so screwed right now from his accusations.
So you say the only redemption Hillary Clinton has is she pulls an O.J. Simpson and goes in and steals memorabilia and gets caught. That's your analysis.
I'd like to think that would cost her. I'd like to think that would cost her yesterday, but in a country that's increasingly creepy, the creepiest person gets to be the head creep. So I guess she's going to be president.
It is pretty bizarre. All right, let's go to your state, California, at the University of Redlands. I guess that's a tree house up in the forest.
I think that's where that Mendel guy got his doctorate. The guy before me who's the University of Redlands.
Anyway, they want men to focus on masculinity with a Dudes Understanding Diversity project. Dudes.
What happened? The guy, dudes, I don't even know what it stands for, but can I get a second over here to adjust all the new male roles? I remember seeing Bruce Jenner on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the decathlon champion last week. He's in a Bob Mackie cotillion gown, and I'm supposed to digest this all in the space of 5 seconds. Give me a second to catch up. It's like you made Blackjack 22. I can't get my head around it this quickly.
Are you going to enroll in that course? I think you can do that online. And the Dude Diversity course at the University of Redlands, I think you should.
Billy, here's what I am right now.
Yeah.
Pre-op, female, about to go back to male. That's how far out there I am right now.
So, Miller, you've heard about the hot dog eating contest. Nathan's famous here in New York City. In Buffalo, New York, blue-collar town, they have a kale eating contest. Are you involved?
Listen, Billy, all I know is if that Asian kid could eat 70 hot dogs, I can't imagine how much kale he can throw down. It's like an entire farm worth of kale he'll be able to jam down his gullet. Now, all these people who want to get you healthy, they want you to live forever so they can constantly tell you what to do. Leave me alone. I want to eat a hot dog. I don't want to eat your kale. You're going to come in with a speech therapist and correct my death rattle. Lay off me.
I agree with you, Miller. My makeup artist, she eats that stuff, and I go in and I go, is that food? What are you eating? Why don't you eat the wallpaper? That's what it looks like. All right, finally, in China, Lady Gaga has been listed as a hostile foreign force by the Chinese government.
Yeah, I think she met with the Dalai Lama, and they're not going to let her into the country. Imagine that's the reason you don't get let into the country. You can show up somewhere in a dress made of meat, and you're allowed to get into the country. But if you meet with the Dalai Lama, and by the way, I'm not going to the kale eating competition. I'm going to go to a competition with the Asian kids eating Lady Gaga's dress.
But it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Dalai Lama has taken Tony Bennett's place, and they're going on tour with Lady Gaga. Nobody knows that we're breaking it tonight on The Factor, Miller. Nice to see you.
I left my heart
in Nepal. No, he's in Tibet. All right. Martha McCallum on deck. Another police shooting. This one in Louisiana, leading to more racial tension. Martha is next. Back in the book segment tonight, did you see that? In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, police have shot and killed a 37-year-old black man, and that is leading to some racial tension.
Police say they were dispatched after an anonymous 911 call claiming someone had a gun. When they arrived, 2 officers confronted 37-year-old Alton Sterling, and things escalated. This cell phone video, reportedly shot by a witness from inside a car and not verified by NBC News, shows what happened next. It clearly shows the 2 police officers tackling and wrestling Sterling to the ground. What happens next is not as clear, the camera turning away from the incident.
You know, with more information, Fox News anchor Martha McCallum. So, the man who was killed, right? Did he have a gun?
We don't know for sure. The owner of the store claims that he saw the police hold him down and that after the shooting, they pulled a gun out of his pocket. We also know that the caller who called in claimed that the man in the red shirt who was selling the CDs had threatened him with a gun.
Okay, I don't know what the CD thing is. Back me into the CD.
Selling CDs, and his wife said that that's what he did. He was in a shelter, a transition shelter. He did 5 years in prison. His priors include marijuana possession, resisting arrest, and in 2000 he was convicted of 1 count of carnal knowledge with a juvenile. So
he had a record. He was selling on the street CDs.
Yeah.
Somebody said he had a gun. Police came. He winds up dead.
Exactly.
Do we know any more than that?
We don't at this point. We know that there were cameras. There's a camera inside the store. There's a dash cam.
Okay.
The word is that the cameras that they had on the officers were dislocated during the altercation. We don't know if that video is going to be good or not. We have to wait. We know from experience here that we have to be very careful here. But those are the facts as we know them right now. We know that he suffered several gunshots in the chest and in the back. That comes from the coroner.
One more question. The police officers involved, they've been suspended.
They have been suspended. That's standard operating procedure for anyone who's involved in an incident like that. One is a 4-year police officer in that area. One is 3 years in Baton Rouge.
It's all right. So those are the facts as we know them now. We'll follow the case. Is it legal? Look into it, and because we want to be fair, but we do want to take these things.
And the Justice Department has already opened a civil investigation into this.
The Justice Department, the feds are already down there. Exactly. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It's
you
fine,
want to have all the top investigators down there. All right, in Baltimore, there have been a few looters. Remember, after the Freddie Gray incident, there was massive looting in town. Some of them have been prosecuted, and the latest one really got hit. Roll it.
Prosecutors say 20-year-old Dante Betts was a key player in the riots, looting, setting fires, and even attacking police. Squirting lighter fluid on a pile of propane cylinders, this infamous photo from the Freddie Gray riots was just one of many that went viral. The man in the picture, 20-year-old Dante Betts, will now spend 15 years behind bars.
Wow, 15 years, huh?
15 years behind bars. They had photos and video of him doing the kind of thing that you see. He wrecked police cars. He also looted a pharmacy there. But it needs to be mentioned that he also, in this same charge, included in the 15 years, is that he shot a woman, did not kill her, during a drug deal. She paid him $20 for heroin. He claimed that he was owed $40. So that is bundled into this sentence as well.
So he's a drug dealer, takes advantage of the Freddie Gray thing to commit even more crimes. There have been others convicted. How many others?
There have been 4 others convicted, and there are a couple more who are still in the pipeline, but they clearly are sending the message that they want these to be dealt with very seriously. And this young man, he didn't deny it at all. He said, "This is my moment to go wild on the police." That was his quote after he was picked up.
He didn't plead not guilty. He said he did it. Long rap sheet, obviously a drug dealer,
He has prior convictions as well, drugs and assault.
Okay. Yeah. Martha McCallum, everybody, thank you. We appreciate it. Factor tip of the day, Legends and Lies analyzes Thomas Jefferson in a moment. But first, hundreds of folks signed up for BillO'Reilly.com premium memberships yesterday because they want 2 things. Analysis that you don't see on TV by me each day about the presidential election, the Hillary Clinton situation. That's in the No Spin News PMs get each day. Also, all PMs get 20% off all of our stuff. In addition, they get a free book when they sign up or re-up. Free copy of the Constitution. So please check it out. No better deal around on BillO'Reilly.com. Now to mail, Jeff Daniel, Oceanside, California. Bill, put the Kool-Aid down and get real. Comey is not credible and he's not honest. End of story. End of story for you, Jeff, because you've appointed yourself judge and jury. But for those of us who live in the real world, where mind reading is not evidence, things get a bit more complicated. Mark's Eve, Sarasota, Florida. I am willing to give James Comey the benefit of the doubt regarding his honesty. He did serve up Hillary's lives on a platter for Trump. Victoria Morales, Champlain, New York. O'Reilly, excellent talking points. It's just unbelievable that she was not charged, but I admire the Democrats for sticking together. Blind loyalty, not admirable, in my opinion, Victoria. I see many Democrats playing the greater good card this year in the race between Clinton and Trump. That T-Points is posted on BillO'Reilly.com from last night. Todd, withholding his last name, New Hampshire. Bill, it has become quite apparent that you are a shill for the rhino establishment. Apparently you are bought and paid for, too. So I'll keep it pithy, Todd. You are an idiot. Why don't you buy a big medallion with a big I on it? For idiot. Jerry Smith, Sachis, Texas. I submit a line from George Orwell on the Clinton situation. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Very pithy at the animal farm, Jerry. Tim Newell, Bend, Oregon. My question is, how do I explain the justice system to my grandkids? One name, Tim. O.J. Simpson. American justice is flawed. Fact of life, stay out of the system if you can. Robert Gout, All Red, Arkansas. Bill, you said President Obama is a role model. Please explain. Glad to, Robert. There is a difference between policy and private behavior. Mr. Obama has presented himself very well as a responsible parent, a good dad, a loyal spouse, and concerned about people who need help. He has presented himself well on all of those fronts. Linda Wright, Decatur, Alabama. We watched Legends and Lies of Patriots and then traveled to Boston for a vacation. The Freedom Trail really came alive after seeing the show. Excellent, Linda. Boston, one of the great American tourist places. But if you're thirsty in Beantown, it's not soda there. It's tonic. That's what they call soft drinks, tonic, like a foreign language. And finally tonight, the fact or tip of the day. The Sunday Fox News series Legends and Lies of Patriots, dominating the ratings once again last week. Highest rated show on all the cable news networks for Saturday and Sunday, the entire weekend. Now, this coming Sunday, we'll take a look at Thomas Jefferson, Samuel Adams, and the Declaration of Independence. All right, that's John Adams and Franklin talking to Thomas Jefferson. Very interesting stuff. And one of George Washington's officers tried to assassinate him. We worked that in too on Sunday night. Fact or tip of the day, please check out Legends and Lies of Patriots every Sunday night, 8 and 11 Eastern Time. And that is it for us tonight. Now, tomorrow we have a survey about Republican Americans and Democrat Americans hating each other. Hating. And why? Okay? So it's very interesting. I've spent a lot of time on this writing it up, and I think you'll enjoy it. So please check out the Fox News Factor website tonight, which is different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout off about the Factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. In the meantime, if you wish to opine word of the day, do not be peck-sniffian when writing to the Factor. If you say do not be a peck-sniffian, you are grammatically incorrect, and I'll have to come to your house. All right? It's do not be peck-sniffian. All right? As Sister Mary Lorana once told me, while holding a giant ruler this thick. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly. Please always remember the spin stops here. So definitely looking out for you.